The morning after Charlie Kirk was killed, America didn't come together. It split, and it split loudly. Hey guys, it's Delaina. Today I want to do a deep dive into how the extreme left and extreme right tried to turn a murder into a megaphone. Who was punished, who was protected, and what that says about our politics now. And this isn't about speculation. This is about receipts on consequences, narratives, and actual power plays. And I saw this quote here I thought was very interesting. I guess it's the new definition of insanity. Insanity, thinking it's wrong to lose your job because of what you said, but what you said was Charlie should lose his life for what he said. Exactly. It's very sad. I've talked about this before, but the whole aftermath of all of this has just been it is a real sign of where we are in humanity right now is to celebrate when someone is murdered, no matter what his thoughts are or what his beliefs are. It's just something I would never see thought I would see in my lifetime. It's just absolutely horrible. So where did all this fallout start happening? Well, it actually hit the campuses first. Videos show this video here was horrible. It showed like this student here was mocking the killing, and it was at vigils when people are starting to mourn for Charlie Kirk's death. They have this guy here making a mockery of it and making fun of it. But the good thing is the administrators moved and they moved fast. Texas State University expelled the student. The president called the clip disturbing. And the Texas governor publicly pressed for expulsions. Another student at Texas Tech was also removed after a visual confrontation. Free speech groups called it overreach. State officials called it standards, and standards they should be. They sent out this message right here from the Texas state president. This is a follow-up to the message I sent earlier today. The university has identified the student in this disturbing video from Monday's event. I will not tolerate behavior that mocks, trivializes, or promotes violence on our campuses. It is anti-ethical to our Texas state standard, our values. The individual is no longer a student at Texas State. Federal law prevents the university from commenting further on individual student conduct matters. Unfortunately, some people are suggesting that the individual's actions represent the beliefs of Texas State students in general or those of specific student organizations. These kinds of insinuations are unfair to our student body, and they cause some of our students to feel unsafe. Just as the behavior in the video was reprehensible, attempts to spread the blame onto innocent students also unacceptable. The actions of one person do not reflect our entire community or the individuals in it. I think that's a great statement. It's a very strong statement, and it's unfortunate that some others might be looped into some some really horrible behavior. But it's good to see that not, and obviously there was a ton of people at this vigil, and this was the one-off guy there making fun of the death. It was actually pretty disturbing. And then after the university followed, it came the workplace. Employees and educators across multiple states were fired or suspended for posts that celebrated or trivialized the death. Newsrooms and HR departments called it the bright line. Critics called it cancel culture with a badge. In Texas, again, Texas, the education agency said it's reviewing hundreds of complaints about teachers, social posts. Civil liberties advocates warn it chills speech far beyond this case. Governors and state leaders say standards matter most when it's hard. On the far left, the dominant impulse was moralizing retribution. They're saying he deserved it. It's karma. We won't grieve. And the rhetoric isn't just mainstream. Democratic leadership, many top Democrats condemned the murder outright, but the loudest clips set the tone online and drew the hammer of offline. Here 280 complaints filed against Texas teachers over alleged comments on killing of Texas. But luckily, the senator came down hard. The universities acted first. Expulsions and suspensions for posts and performances seen as celebrating violence. Governors amplified those clips and demanded action, creating a feedback loop. They have viral outrage, they have official pressure, and then immediate sanctions. And here, Abbott calls for investigation into teacher who called Kirk killing karma. It's just horrible, but it's good to see that people are standing up against this. But the one biggest step, and I think this is what's great, is it hit mainstream. is Jimmy Kimmel. I think that sent out a loud, loud message. In this media whole sphere of everything, having the follow escalated to the ABC level and suspending Jimmy Kimmel Live was the best thing that could have happened, especially it's indefinite he'll ever come back. And this was an on-air riff about the politics around Charlie Kirk's death. So here is that video, which I thought was absolutely horrible. Have a listen.
MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Yeah, he is trying to make it that the shooter was MAGA, which he obviously was not. He was transgender, calling him a fascist, what the left wing has been perpetuating forever now. And it's just sad. But, ultimately, the affiliates, they fought back. Corporate sponsors stepped in, and regulators weighed in from the sidelines. The message to the broader left-leaning infotainment world was engagement has a ceiling, and when tragedy is fresh. So the net for the extreme left, yeah, it wasn't positive. That's for sure. And I also found this one video because all the left is like, oh gosh, he shouldn't be, let go because of this. But yet this is him in his own words when Tucker Carlson got let go. Listen here.
Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means. Tucker couldn't be reached for comment. He's already on a plane to Moscow to meet with his manager. But what a shock. I mean, what an absolutely delightful shock this is. Now Tucker can spend more time at home tanning his testicles and touching himself to that sexy green M&M. Sadly, he's probably not done poisoning old people's brains. The question now is, where will he do it next? Will he go to OAN? Will he go to Newsmax? Will he crawl back up Satan's fiery beehole from whence he came? We don't know. One of the most despicable Mother Tuckers ever to appear on American television.
So yeah, goodbye, Mother Tucker. So I guess Jimmy Kimmel will be at home tanning his balls now. So, but what I think is great out of all of this is, here we're Chuck Schumer again. They're complaining that I saw a tweet from Newsom saying, "Oh, this is ridiculous and censorship." But here we are. This is from Chuck Schumer to Rupert Murdoch. Direct Tucker Carlson and other hosts on your network to stop spreading false election narrative and admit on the air that they were wrong to engage in such negligent behavior. So Jimmy Kimmel gaslighting everybody into thinking that the shooter for Charlie Kirk was a MAGA. I guess that's responsible. But like I said, at the end, Charlie Kirk had the last word. And I love this. It's from 2017. So Jimmy Kimmel isn't funny, period. Actually, there's no period. Just he is not funny. Good for you, Charlie Kirk. So yes. So what's happening on the far right is that instant frame of martyrdom and moral mandate is proof that the left's rhetoric breeds violence and the institutions must be purged or punished. So what do? Well, step one, they name and shame. Governors and lawmakers blasted clips of ghoulish posts and demanded expulsions and investigations in Texas. Even individual teachers became targets of official review for calling the killing karma. And then step 2 is the media pressure. Conservative leaders and allied outlets pressed Disney and ABC over the late night remarks. Affiliates announced they'd drop the show. ABC shelved it for now, but right-leaning figures claimed a win for consequence culture. And Trump world praised the move. And then step 3, congressional weapons. House conservatives moved to strip progressive member committee assignments over the remarks about the killing, arguing that public figures who normalize violence shouldn't hold gavels. Whether it passes or not, it serves a message of war. Make outrage expensive for your opponents. So, what is the net for the extreme right? It's momentum and message discipline. Costs exist. Overreach can boomerang, but in this cycle, the right translated the momentum into institutional, and its action is becoming faster. So, here's the collision. Is celebrating a death speech, or is it conduct that should be disparaging? Civil liberty groups condemned the killing and warned against broad speech crackdowns. State officials argued public standards must hold, especially for the people shaping your minds. Media is the same tug of war. One side calls suspensions corporate censorship, the other calls it accountability. To communities and advertisers, however you label it, the power balance is obvious. The people who controlled affiliate boards and budget decide where the line lives in this whole scenario this week. Some tried to de-escalate. College Democrats and college Republicans in several states issued joint statements condemning the murder and calling for a lower temperature. It didn't dominate the feeds, but it did exist. So what did the middle see? Two loud minorities on the extreme left, viral cruelty, then real world consequences. On the extreme right, we see rapid institutional punishment, sometimes spilling into speech policing. Both sides claim principle, both sides play power. And if you're independent, you may see the same lesson both ways. Don't say the quiet part out loud in tragedy, or the other side will use your words to change your rules, jobs, and shows. Politically, the weak belong to whoever controlled the whole process of it all, and not the posts. The outrage went viral. The levers made law, policy, and precedent. This wasn't about who you love or hate. It was about what power did after the killing. And this keeps going on and on. To all those people crying online about losing their jobs for something they said, imagine losing your life for something you said. And it's so true. And that's at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. I also saw this post here, and it really says a lot. And this is from Milo. I can't let this airline pilot thing go. Teachers, okay, expected. Social workers, sure. But we can't have pilots flying commercial aircrafts with morbid, flippant views of death. So I'm vetting every single Delta, United, American Air pilot's social media with a volunteer team. Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I said that to my son who's a pilot. He's like, "Shame on him," but I'm like, "Hey, could open up some jobs. Just, make sure that your social media is clean." My kids don't really do much on social media, but other than pictures and stuff, they certainly aren't political. But I thought that was very interesting, but it is so true, and that's why because my son is in this training to be a pilot, I'm very aware of all those going on in this kind of area in the DEI. But it is so true. Those are one of the jobs, like, you're not a heart surgeon or a doctor or anything like that, but 100% those jobs have other people's lives on the line, and they should fall under very, very strict moral guidelines because you got hundreds of people's lives in your hand and succumb to whatever decisions that you make. So I'm with him on this one. 100%. You better watch what you say. You can't just be flippant about what you post on social media. It really shows maybe you should, because then it eventually show who you really are. So, is cancel culture good for democracy? That's the big question. Um, and then it goes to, I was going to go on about this, but the difference between hate speech and free speech are two different things. And there's definitely a line. But I guess what my feeling is that you have hate speech, but sometimes it's not even true. It's just coming up with shit, like, it's just the gaslighting shit that comes out, and no, there shouldn't be hate speech, but yet you can't limit what someone says because then there's free speech. So I don't know what the answer is there, but I think people 100% need to be accountable for what they say. So whatever you say, so if what you say is borders on the hate speech side, and your employer should have a right to say, yeah, I don't want someone like you to work for me or my company, 100%. So I think at the end of the day, you have to be accountable for everything you say. So if you're going to spew the hate shit, then you better deal with what's coming at you and being held accountable for what you say. Definitely free speech, but yeah, I think there's lines, but if we can't control what people say because there is free speech, they have to, as an employer or someone who works with you or someone who you're friends with, and they start, it's almost like the truth comes out when people are drunk. A lot of truth are said in jest also. Um, so when you're saying shit like that online, and that tells a lot about a person, yeah, it's you're gonna show your true colors, so you better watch what you say. A lot of times too, a lot of stuff what you put online, you can't take back. So just be careful. Again, I don't believe in limiting speech. I believe in free speech, but there should also be consequences. If you're gonna spew hate speech, ultimately, I think there should be laws out there to, as employers or whatever, you should be able to, should be repercussions, and they should be harsh, and they should be in line to what, for what you said. For me, for saying, being happy that someone else was killed is hate speech, and there should be consequences. And if you get fired for it, 100% behind it, 100,000,000%. And there shouldn't be any repercussions for the employer, that's for sure. It is, if that's unacceptable for you on the line of morality, 100% you should be able to decide who you work for and who represents you as a company. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Should there what should the repercussions be, if any, for people to talk negatively about, or just say anything in celebration of Charlie Kirk's murder? What should be the consequences? Should there be any consequences? And should there be any legalities around it? Which is also very interesting. So, anyways, please like, subscribe, share, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.